What's up, everyone? It's another cold day here in Indiana, about 10 degrees, 15 degrees outside. I figure what better way to stay warm than get in the shop and work on the car. Today's gonna be the first step instructional video for installation of the Team Z Motorsports through floor subframe connectors. Stick around and we'll get into it. Alright everybody, like I said earlier, today we're going to work on installing these Team Z subframe connectors. First step is going to be clearing the floorboard. I'm sure a lot of you have seen underneath the carpet before that there is a lot of this sound deadening material. It's like a tar coating stuff they apply. Well, if you want to do any cutting or welding, you got to get that stuff off there. Now, I've seen a lot of people on YouTube and through forums, and I've seen a lot of recommendations. One big one I've seen is getting some dry ice. Supposedly it's going to make it so cold it just pops right off. I've seen in those videos that that's not always the case. And then those people always end up reverting to the heat gun and a scraper. So that's what we're going to do here. Not going to waste any time, just do what we got to do. So these are my tools for the day. I got the heat gun, got some scraping devices. I would definitely recommend a metal scraper, not a plastic one. And then some lacquer thinner and a bunch of rags. I was finding when I did the driver's side that if you get the right temperature, it'll scrape off and will leave minimal residue, but if you go just a little bit too hot, it ends up leaving some residue. In either case, this is what a good after removal, still pretty blackish looking, and then this, you can see I got so hot that I just kind of smeared it. Over here, did a pretty good job of popping off or peeling off with leaving minimal residue. But if we're going to be welding through or welding on the floorboards, we don't want to be burning that stuff off. That's just going to make for crappy weld, and it's going to be really stinky and nasty to deal with. So I'm going to get set up in the car and we'll start the process. All right, you're gonna hear, I'm gonna do a lot of narration basically. I got my bucket here so I can scrape all the crap into it. The heat gun, and so the through floor subframe connector is gonna mainly lay right here in this divot once we get the tar stuff out and the floorboard cut away. I don't know, I think I'll just try and remove, just to help minimize the crap to remove and not deal with all of it. I'll just try to keep 3 or 4 inches away from that spot, and then also the kicker piece is going to end up going somewhere in this area right here. So I'm going to need to clear that out. And also we got the seam sealer that's got to be removed. And this is just the front section, but in the back there's also some seam sealer. So we'll get that stuff all removed. And I'll just time lapse it in the video through until the points where I got to point something out and give some tips or something. So all right, let's get started. hope you guys can see this all real good. You know, roughly I'm holding the heat gun. I got it cranked up on the hot setting. I'm holding it about 12-14 inches away and letting it get warmed up, and it's coming off pretty good. See if I can get you guys a good view here. You can see it's leaving some gunk, but once I get the big chunks of it off, it ends up scraping that stuff away pretty easily. Little makeshift tripod here is kind of tough to get set up in the floorboards, but as you can see, it's moving pretty quick. It's not something that takes forever. Once you get into it, it's more intimidating than it is to actually do. Just seems like it's going to be a mess, but it isn't that bad really. So I recommend don't even bother with any other, you know, folklore ways of getting this stuff off. Just get a heat gun and start scraping, and it's a good shoulder workout too. One thing I'd like to point out, I just thought of, you know, while we're dealing with heat and everything, I'm keeping the lacquer thinner out of the vehicle, and we'll only be bringing it in here to the point, or once we get to the point where I actually need to use it. So that way you have less risk of hazards and whatnot. So. So something I'm learning is if you ever had any heater box leaks, you definitely learn to, you'll smell it, that you know, it did leak at some point in time when you're putting this heat to this stuff. But you can see it's coming up pretty good. I kind of just ended up scraping it all instead of trying to not worry about leaving some of it, you know, but it's not bad once you get to the right temperature. Some of the spots where like your people's feet are and a lot more pressure definitely is a lot more has adhered a lot more to the floorboard, so it scrapes up a little bit worse. But overall, you can see what is going on. It's just, you know, a little bit tedious, but I think, I don't know, I've probably only been working 15 minutes on this really, so it's not like it takes forever. It moves along pretty good. So anyways, get back to it. got the majority of it cleaned up, as you can see. The floorboard tar is pretty much gone. I just leave a little strip right there just because that's gonna be cut out anyways. Now the big thing is to clean all that seam sealer out and get that all cleaned up, which you can pretty much do the same thing with. It is a little, doesn't get as soft as the tar does, but it will clean up, and then you can use a wire wheel or something to really clean it good. So I'm just going to continue to clean it up. Probably going to grab the vacuum, clean some of these fine pieces out, and keep on scraping. And then once I get to where it's pretty clean and all we got is a little residue, then I'll just get some lacquer thinner, get it all good and clean. I think we're about 20 or 25, maybe 30 minutes in, so you can see it's not anything that's super ridiculous. So anyways. Alright, it's that time. We got all this fantastic sound deadening removed, and I did get the sound deadening in this seam here, or the seam sealer in this seam here pretty well scraped away. So now I'm just going to concentrate on about this spot right here, getting up the goo, and then in this area right here as well. And it's just as easy as taking some lacquer thinner and a crappy rag and just start rubbing. Wax on, wax off. And I did find if this goo cools down too much, it does get kind of difficult. So sometimes you might have to warm it back up and or kind of let it sit. One thing is you want to do this in a well ventilated place. The lacquer thinner does have some smell to it. You might be able to get some of that non-scented stuff too. That might help, but there might be some Vox in it still. I don't know how that non-scented stuff is chemically, but I don't know. Some people kind of enjoy this smell of it. But all right, well, let's go to the time lapse. Let's speed this up. All right, everybody, you can see here I got it as cleaned up as I want to get it. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be for what we're doing. Everything I'm going to be doing is between these rows of pinch welds right here and up over in here we will be putting a kicker in. I still do need to clean this up, this seam sealer up there, but I don't really feel like having you guys watch me do it. It's, you know, you pick it away and then clean it up as best you can with some people use a propane torch, kind of burn it up a little bit, then use a wire wheel, or sometimes you just use a wire wheel and it comes out. And then back here on the seat bulkhead, sorry if the camera work is a little crazy, but you can see here that where the back side of this subframe connector will be connecting should be like somewhere right about here. So we got a lot of seam sealer here to take out, and there is some rust in that seam. So what I might do is take all this seam sealer out and then kind of break it apart and pick it away to get it cleaned up, and then smash it back down and maybe put like a piece of 18 gauge over this, just so that way we got good connection between the solid floor pan and the bulkhead. Over in this spot here, I'll need to remove all the seam sealer so that way our kicker can connect up to the subframe rail. So like I said, I don't want to bore you guys with just time lapses of me working on picking seam sealer out. So as I'm doing that and I come up with any tips or anything, I'll update you guys on that info. But other than that, I'm done for the day here. I'm gonna go get me some dinner, and you guys keep in touch if you like what we're doing. Like and subscribe, comment below, the usual everybody says in their YouTube videos. And stay tuned. We will be doing some cutting soon, so for those of you in the north, stay warm. For those of you in the south, enjoy that sun and the shorts, and take it easy. Peace.